Hi, my name is Robert Thomas DeVincentis, and if you've ever heard of me, you might find me in the Book of Kings. That's my book. I'm the author of the Book of Kings, and it deals with aftermath science. And you can find it on the web probably somewhere, but you need to spell the author's name, Robert and Thomas, then DeVincentis, D-E, capital V-I-N-C-E-N-T-I-S. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about, I happen to be down here in Florida. It's beautiful Indian Rocks Beach. And I'm going to be talking to you about aftermath science. And what is it, and what can you obtain from the knowledge of aftermath science? Well, aftermath science is basically a science where I'm the author, and it deals with 4 subjects: science, nature, man, and God. And I'm the historical person of the historical origins of history concerning those 4 subjects. So what you're going to get from the book, if you get it or if you listen to the talks, you get what they call hyperextended knowledge. And I've talked about this before in other talks, where hyperextended knowledge is not like the knowledge that you're going to get here on Earth from reading books. Well, you could, but I'm saying, who's the one that's giving you the information? There's numerous people that have real high IQs. I think Einstein was one of them. Then there was another guy in history, I forget his name. He was a young guy. He could apparently read newspapers when he was like about 15 months, and he could speak 7 different languages. And this kid ended up in Harvard, and when he was about 9 or 10, something like that. So this guy was he was a prodigy, he was a genius, and so they consider this guy probably having a greater IQ than even Einstein had. So what is about these guys, these people, or whether it's a man or a woman, or they have these genius IQs? What makes them so great? Well, if you watch a lot of these game shows where they have trivia, some of the stuff is they just feed the information, and they have a lot of knowledge. Isn't it like reading a language? Isn't it like remembering stuff and things that are pertinent to the language and how to say it and speak it and read it, whatever it is that you're doing? So you're filling your brain with that information, and it could be very good, positive information. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, and that's almost on the same level, and I spoke that you're greater than AI. I know it's hard to believe, because somebody was just reading in the paper today that AI can actually mimic the way you talk exactly, and the way you look. They can actually make things look like you. And it could do all kinds of things where you could be tricked, and they could be saying things that you didn't say or whatever, and then they would say, oh, you said that, when in reality you didn't. So there's a lot of confusion out there, and so a lot of it needs to be taken away. So what is it then about aftermath science and the hyperextended knowledge? Well, I suppose if you had the knowledge of angels, and I spoke about this before, it was said that they have what they call absolute knowledge, where their knowledge is not faulty like man's, where he can make mistakes or he could be in error. Where the angels that knew God, and those are the ones that stayed with him, and then there's the ones that separated from him, the devil and his angels that rejected God, and they had no way back to him after that, because They had absolute knowledge, so they already knew God. There's no coming back after that. Whereas man is a faulty type individual, and he's redeemable because of that. That's why Christ comes. So the world is full of things that they're going to tell you. People like Einstein and these other people that have great intelligence and they did great, remarkable things. But they didn't have all the information. And what happens is that they deleted the idea. Einstein had a small image of, or a childlike idea of what God is, small. And then the other gentleman that had this really superior intellect, which was on par even greater than Einstein. He was basically an atheist. He didn't believe in God, but these people believed in matter and things like this. So they're scientific people, and what they believe is science brought about everything. But the reality of it is that that's not true. That everything was spoken into creation, and that includes light and time, and I explained about that the things that AI can never come to the conclusion on are the things that are factual truths, and you're not going to find them in scientific books or other things, because basically they come with whatever God said. And I explained early on in many things that the written law is greater than the physical laws and things like that, and that light and time, there's no real logical explanation for them because they were spoken into existence when light came and so forth. And so there's a lot of things about the planet that science is going to be taking you in areas that are not necessarily true, or they might have a part truth to them, but they're not the whole truth. And so people can go off in tangents when they don't realize that this stability of time and space and all these kinds of things, that they're beyond the human comprehension. I know there's a lot that could be said, and so what's gleaning? What are you taking away from all the things that I said so far? Probably not a whole lot, because I didn't get into the meat of it like I do in other talks, where I say that light was instantaneous, and that time came about at the same time that light did, and that time, these are all created things by God, and man can't really comprehend them. He can only come to some scientific idea of what he thinks it is, and then but he's wrong, whatever the conclusion is, because he can't find out that not that there isn't an answer, but he just can't get to the total truth of it, because it's beyond his human ability or mental ability to understand that. And that's the way it's always going to be. I don't care how far science advances itself. It's not going to know the whole story because it doesn't take into account the things that you might find in the Bible and that. So that's where the main difference comes in, that you're not going to get the knowledge to understand the world apart from what God says. Today everything is disastrous when it comes from science. Everything out in outer space is going to kill you, or the poles. When the Earth tips on its axis and it goes around for the seasons and all that, that's going to change, and the poles are going to flip, and everybody's going to get killed and all this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you're finding in science. This is the kind of stuff that governments can embrace. When they get these scientists and that write these kinds of things, and then investigating what they're saying about it. So, but they're very far from the truth about the stability, and that when God created the world, it was good, and that the things that science is portraying about the heavens and the earth and everything else is really far-fetched, and it's an unfortunate thing that people are buying into it. So even though you can get a guy like Einstein or these other people that existed on Earth that had major intelligences and their IQs were high, how good can your IQ be if you fill it with things that are not necessarily true? Or somebody could come along and ask you a question and you give them the right answer, but it doesn't mean the answer you're given is a true one either. So I'm just saying that there's no concrete stability in a lot of this stuff. And yet science is remarkable in a lot of ways, in their medicine and their technologies and stuff like that. But they've eluded the truth somehow by believing that their minds and their abilities to work with science is greater than what God is. So in actuality, they're making God their science. I don't know if I explained everything to the degree that I should have tonight. It's dark out. Here I am in this beautiful Gulf area in Indian Rocks Beach in Florida. Anyway, I just felt that it was necessary to say that your IQ doesn't necessarily mean you're smart, and that the things of this world are not necessarily the dangerous things that are being portrayed by science about outer space and all those kinds of things, which is erroneous. They're being a bad witness on stuff about how God created everything. There's other talks that I've touched on, but this one here about a hyperextended knowledge, it's a real high part of something that's true, and it goes far beyond the science that you're going to find. And AI cannot come to that conclusion on the things that I talk about. It doesn't have the ability to come to those conclusions because they're off everywhere else, and everybody else is feeding it the wrong information. And yet again, something like AI could be very dangerous, I suppose, by faking people out and trying to mimic something, or just scrambling everything around, making the world crazier than it already is. So I just tell you these things, that your security should be in God. Today happens to be the baptism of Christ, which falls on January 8th, and that is the epiphany of the third one, the birth, the wise men, and now the baptism of Christ. So the Christmas season in the Roman Church is coming to an end now. So I hope you enjoyed the talk, and I hope that you're able to find the book and get it and read it, and you have a great evening. Thanks for listening.